Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining. Sunil here. Can you hear me? Please confirm in the chat box. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's stop the chat. Thank you, Babat. Perfect. So this is our plan for our today's session. So we have understood the CI/CD process, and today we'll be jumping into the practicals of CI/CD. So before jumping into practicals, Azam, good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening, sir. I'm good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yes, your question.
Actually, I created 3 instances on AWS. Okay, one dev and one QA and one production. Right.
Okay.
So on the dev instance, I installed all dependencies like Git, Maven, and Java, and
Okay.
Jenkins as well. After
Okay.
installing and running Java Manager and
Okay.
directory of Jenkins, Jenkins.var.
Okay.
So after running this command, I got a web page of Jenkins.
Sorry?
After running this command, I got Jenkins web page.
Okay, you were able to successfully install the plugins and then
I created a user,
yes.
admin user. But as I terminated the putty connection,
yes,
I lost the connection.
you will not get the Jenkins page.
Why is it?
Isn't it? That's what you have experienced, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I ran a command that was NOH UP, and after that continuously I'm getting that way.
Okay. Which command? Which command?
NOH UP. No up.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. I'll explain.
Manager.
No, I'll explain what is exactly the problem is. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
So here also I have just started the instance. Yesterday after the session I have stopped the instances. And right now you have terminated or you have stopped?
No, I have stopped.
You have stopped the instances. Now I have started the instances. So right now you can see the 3 instances are up and running, and we already have installed Jenkins in the dev instance, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Am I right? We already have installed Jenkins. Along with Jenkins, we also have installed
Maven, Git, Java.
The prerequisite for Jenkins is Java. We also have installed Java, Maven, as well as Git we have installed, isn't it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what is the Jenkins runs on which port number? 8080. So what I'm doing here, I'm taking the public IP of the dev instance and I am accessing the Jenkins page using 8080. You will not get the page.
Yes.
Okay, you will not get the page. Very important observations. The point is, whenever you stop the instances, Jenkins will also be stopped. Jenkins service will also be stopped. Okay. So what you need to do. So I'm connected to the dev instance. Connected.
Yes.
And then you need to, what is the command we have used last time?
Java Manager and Jenkins.var.
Then if you now take the public IP,
I will be able to access.
You will be able to access. Okay. So whenever you stop the instances, your Jenkins service will also be stopped. So whenever you start the instance, you should also start the Jenkins server. So, but technically speaking, in the enterprise level, in the real time, do you think that the dev instance, QA instance, and production instance will be stopped and start daily, Azam?
No, sir. No, I'm not talking about instance. I'm just talking about the termination of putty connection. Instance is up. Okay, just I terminated the putty connection.
Oh, if you terminate the putty connection, Jenkins will not stop. Okay, you can connect again and you can start using Jenkins. Okay.
I faced the problem 2 times. That's why.
Okay, so generally, if you connect it, that's not a problem. Okay, so when you stop and you have to start it, you need to start the instances. But practically, assume the instance is dev QA production instance will be always continuously running 365 days, isn't it? The instances will not be stopped and stopped. So we will never encounter this problem in future. Okay. Practical at the real time.
Can you please once disconnect the connection of SSH connection and access Jenkins?
See, disconnection in the sense you don't have a terminal here. You should not disturb this terminal. Okay. You should minimize this terminal and open one more terminal. Don't disturb this terminal because the service is running in this terminal. If you disconnect it, that's not a problem. This terminal should not be disturbed. As long as this terminal is up and running, the service will be up and running. Okay.
So if we do anything, suppose I run a command on this terminal, then Jenkins
there is no prompt. Is there any prompt so that you can run?
No. If I press Control C and run
that means the moment you are saying Control C, the service will be stopped. Okay. So this terminal is completely dedicated to Jenkins. Okay.
So isn't actually I tried the command no up and then Java.
It works. It works.
It is
working. That's a turnaround solution. Okay. Okay. Perfect. So I already have started connecting to Jenkins. So I hope you remember the first user which you have created. The username is admin. The password is also admin. I have logged into Jenkins. We already have experienced how a Jenkins dashboard looks like. Whenever you want to create any activity you want to perform in Jenkins, you need to create a new job. We already have seen how to create a new job and how to run the job, how to see the log messages. All this we had a understanding about the Jenkins user interface in the previous session. Okay. Perfect. Yes, Babatunde. Your question, please. I can see your hand raised. May I have your question?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So my issue is that I followed the steps and I was able to install all the prerequisites in order to, connect into Jenkins. And when I put the IP address and the port 8080, it's telling me that this site can't be reached.
Sorry?
I couldn't access the Jenkins page when I put on the IP address in the URL.
Okay, the problem could be the security group. So the EC2 missions which you have created at the time of creating the EC2 mission, did you observe we have opened the security group of all traffic? That means I'm opening all the ports. You have to make sure that the security group for this particular 3 instances, make sure that it is all traffic and source from anywhere so that it will be accessible. I hope I'm clear.
Actually, I did that. That was what I did.
Then you should be able to get that.
Yeah, that was exactly what I did.
So are you using your office network connection?
Actually, I'm using my home network connection.
Okay, is your laptop a personal laptop or an office laptop?
It's a personal laptop.
Then you should be able to get it. Please try one more time.
Okay, I've been trying. I just don't know why.
Okay, so the security group, make sure that you open all traffic and source from anywhere for this particular instances so that you will not have any connection issues. Please try.
Okay.
Yes, Maheshwara.
I was trying to install Jenkins locally. It is asking one thing actually. So run service as local or domain user. So should I need to give what is the account and what is the password I need to give actually there?
So when it is on, it is asking you to proceed with the password.
No, it is asking logon type. Run services local system not recommended. Run services local or domain user.
Go for local.
Run services local or domain user means like whatever username password which I used to log in into the laptop I'm giving is not taking it actually.
Yeah, it should take it, Maheshwara. Even I'm not sure because it does not successfully runs on. It can be installed on local machine, so you need to check that.
Or actually, there is another option is the run services local system, which it is saying not
Take the first.
recommended actually.
No, use the not recommended option because you have to install it on your local machine.
Okay, thanks. Sir.
Okay, perfect. Anuj, can we have a talk? Please raise your hand. Thank you. Can you hear me, Anuj? We cannot hear you.
Am I audible?
Yes. What are the stages involved in the CI/CD? Could you please brief out?
There were four stages. CI/CD is I'm sorry, I did not remember. I'm not cramming.
First stage is continuous download.
Continue download, continuous compile,
continuous build.
build.
Okay. Okay. Once done, build is done, we need to deploy it. Continuous
Deploy.
deployment. Once the deployment is done, step 4, what we do is continuous testing, and then
Testing and
step 5,
delivery.
continuous delivery. Agree, isn't it? So these are the 5 stages involved in the CI/CD.
One thing, thanks you invited me. I would like to ask one thing very quickly, that while installing this Jenkins, there is an option to give the password. The moment we give the password,
Then it proceeds with the installation.
only then it proceeds for the while
Right.
opening for the password, we have to use public IP or private IP, because that also
You don't
opens
need
on
to.
browser.
You don't need to open the password. Okay, so already password will be available in the terminal.
No, password is there in the terminal, but we need to put it in a GUI.
Okay, it
put the
automatically
password.
takes the public IP.
So it automatically prompts to the GUI, or we have to open
Automatically
from
it prompts to the GUI. When you click on it automatically prompts to the GUI. Okay, that's what we have seen it in the last session, isn't it? Okay.
Okay. So what browser it takes? The default one which we have created in our
The
laptops?
default browser depends upon the personal configuration laptop of default.
Because
apps.
I'm also facing the same issue where we are not able to connect it with the IP address when we supply it with
security group. Make sure that the security group you open all traffic. Just follow as it is according to settings. Okay.
We'll try. Thank you.
Yes, please try. Yes, Ankita.
Hi, Sunil.
Yes, good evening. Your question.
Good evening. Actually, I raised my hand because of that question you asked regarding that process here.
Okay, clear about the process of the CI/CD, Ankita?
Yes.
Can you explain what is stage 1?
It is continuous download.
Okay, so what does that mean?
It is like Jenkins download the source code from GitHub to dev instance continuously.
Yes, continuous download is all about downloading the source code from the GitHub repository to the dev instance, isn't it?
Yes.
Once the code is downloaded on the dev instance, what is the second stage?
Second stage is continuous build.
So can you explain what is continuous build?
It is like creating that package, move that the code to the package, and like it will download that package.
Generate. Use the word generate.
Yeah, it
generate the artifact. Continuous build is all about packaging the source code and generating the artifact. Stage 3.
It is continuous deployment. It deploy the artifact from dev instance to QA instance.
QA instance, you are right. So if you want to deploy, you need to install Tomcat or something on the QA instance, isn't it, Ankita?
Yes.
So in the last session, what we have done, we have only configured the dev instance. We have not disturbed the QA instance. We have not discussed the production instance. So let us complete the installation of QA and production instance. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So installing Tomcat. If you want to deploy, you need to have a server. So I'm installing Tomcat on the QA server. I'm installing Tomcat on the production server. So let's connect to QA server. Already one terminal is busy connecting to the dev server. So I want to connect to the QA server. Are you sure you want to connect? I have connected to QA server. Perfect. I have connected to QA server. So look at the steps which is involved in current. First step, what you need to do is to update the repository. Just follow the recording. Practice is very important. Update the repository. Install Tomcat 8. Done. Tomcat 8 is installed. We need to also install its related package Tomcat 8 admin. I'm installing Tomcat 8 admin also. Yes, Tomcat is successfully installed. Tomcat is successfully installed on the QA instance. Okay. Now, how can we access Tomcat? Tell me. How can we access Tomcat? You know, Tomcat also runs on the port number 8080. Take the public IP of the QA instance. Take the public IP of the QA instance and the port number. Tomcat runs on :8080. Are you, if it works, if you are able to see this page via browser, that means you have successfully installed Tomcat. Congratulations. So we are done with installing Tomcat on the QA instance. Clear about this? So it's pretty simple. Next, not just installing Tomcat 8, not just installing Tomcat, you need to create a user in Tomcat. Minimum there should be one user in Tomcat. Now I'm showing you how can we create a user in Tomcat. I'm showing you how can we create a user in the Tomcat. Whenever Tomcat 8 is in, Tomcat is installed, that related directory will be available in /etc/Tomcat 8. Let's go to the location where the Tomcat 8 is installed. In this directory, the Tomcat 8 is installed. I'm going to the location where the Tomcat 8 is installed. In this particular Tomcat 8 directory, we have a file called as tomcat-users.xml file. So in this file, you need to provide the user credentials. What is a Tomcat user you're planning to create, and what is the password you want to provide for this particular Tomcat user? Do you want to provide any roles to this particular Tomcat user? So this is how you have to create user in Tomcat. So I have the command ready with me. The tag user, this is the command which helps you to, this is a statement which helps you to create a new Tomcat user. The name of the user, it can be anything. I'm using the name as training. I'm providing the password as Sunil and Sunil, and I'm providing these roles to the Tomcat user. So I want to, you have to include this line of statement in this XML file. So let's open this XML file. It's tomcat-user.xml file. So by, I think by default you'll not have write permissions. So that's the reason I'm using sudo keyword. Opening the tomcat-user.xml file, scroll down, go to insert mode. Before the end of the tag, please observe, this is the end of the tag. Okay, so participants sometimes create the user after the tag. So be careful before the tag. You need to include this one line of statement. Paste. The username which I have provided is training. This is the password which I'm providing, and these are the roles for this particular user. I have included this particular XML tag in the tomcat-user.xml file, WQ to save and quit. And then I want to restart the Tomcat service. This is the command to restart Tomcat 8. Done installing Tomcat in my QA instance. I'm done installing Tomcat in my QA instance, and I have restarted Tomcat as well. Perfect. So I'm done configuring the QA instance. Similarly, let's also configure the production instance. I want to install Tomcat 8 in production. I want to install Tomcat in production also. So let's do that. I want to disconnect the QA instance. I am disconnected the QA instance. Let's me connect to the production instance. connected to production instance, and then I repeat the same steps. First, update the repository. Install Tomcat 8. Install Tomcat 8, install its related package Tomcat 8 admin. Let's verify is Tomcat successfully configured in the production instance or not. Take the public IP of the production instance. And as we all know, Tomcat runs on 8080. Perfect. Tomcat is perfectly configured on the production instance. So as usual, we need to create a user in the Tomcat. So let's go to the Tomcat 8 directory. Let's go to the Tomcat 8 directory. We have a file called tomcat-user.xml file, and include one line of statement. You already know it. The username I change. Training is a username in the QA instance, and learning is a username in the production instance. So wantedly, I'm providing a different usernames for the different instances. Escape, :WQ to save and quit. And as usual, we have to restore Tomcat 8. Perfect. So we are done configuring QA. Last session, we have completed the dev instance configuration. We are done installation of QA as well as production instance. Nekwa, good morning.
Good morning.
Sunil.
Yeah. So you've answered one of my questions. I was about to ask, is there no testing in the DevOps, in the dev environment before going to
Production?
Correction. So you've just answered it. I think when
Yes.
you download, yeah. So then my next question is, why there's this popular question that why do we choose Jenkins over the other tools?
The can you give me other examples of the CI/CD tools?
I've forgotten the CIC, the other one.
The most popular CI/CD tool is Jenkins. 90% in the industry to perform the CI/CD stages. There are other tools. Okay, but the 90% in the industry uses Jenkins. So that's the reason we are using Jenkins. We are learning Jenkins. Okay, the most popular one.
Okay, another question. If you are given a job to work from home, like remotely, and you don't have access to the console, they don't give you access to the console, how do you carry out all this?
Command line interface. AWS CLI.
Yes.
Okay.
But
you can connect and configure all this in the AWS CLI.
Then how do you assess the, yeah, I'm trying to think about it.
You can do that. We have learned it in the AWS, isn't it, Nekwa? Okay, so you can also connect a different approach called as CLI.
Okay, maybe when we go deep into the AWS, when I will remember.
You'll understand. Yeah, perfect.
And then, okay, one last question, Sonia, sorry.
Yes, proceed.
We say continuous, everything is continuous, deployment continuous, this continuous, that.
Every stage is prefixed with the keyword continuous.
Yes, so if we have one job, let's say we are working on one application for Facebook, for example, and when Marvin packages and packages the source code
and the artifact is ready.
And yes, Jenkins deploys to QA.
You are right.
it goes there as one bundle. So how is it continuous? Is it on a one-time thing? How is it continuous?
It's a continuous
deployment?
process. Why it is called as continuous, you need to wait. Okay. So that I will tell you why it is called as continuous. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Anuj. Configuring the QA dev instance is done in the last session.
Right.
We have just completed configuration of dev QA and production. Okay. The
Right.
infrastructure is perfect now so that we can showcase how exactly the CI/CD process happens. Okay. So,
Right.
and all this should be happening with the tool called as Jenkins. So let me log into Jenkins.
Sunil, I have a
I
question.
think I already have logged into Jenkins. In Jenkins, yes, I'm coming to your question. In Jenkins, whatever you want to perform will be creating a new job, isn't it? Okay.
Right.
And I'm creating a new job. And this job should perform me continuous download. Okay. So I'm talking about stage one, Anuj, that is called as continuous download.
Continuous
The
download.
development team will give us the repository URL where exactly the source code is saved, isn't it? This particular information we get it from the development team. So the complete source code is available in one GitHub repository. So that URL we receive it from the GitHub repository URL, we receive it from the development team. So this is the repository URL which I'm using it to perform the continuous download. Look at this. This is a repository, Anuj, assuming this is a repository which is having a source code. Okay.
Correct.
Any repository, that's fine, right? So I'll be using this repository. Now, please observe what happens. I'm creating a new job. Name of the job can be anything. I'm naming it as development. It's a freestyle project. Click on OK. I'm creating a new job. The name of the job is development. And then first step is downloading the source code. So obviously you need to go to source code management tab, meaningful. And then your repository is GitHub and mention the repository URL from which you are planning to download. I already have the repository URL, Anuj, with me. This is the repository URL. Am I right?
Right.
I'm copying this repository URL and click on apply, click on save. That's it. I have done with creating a job. Now, when I run this job now, my Jenkins will download the source code from the GitHub repository mentioned in the job URL. And where exactly the source code will be downloaded?
In the home directory.
In which instance? Obviously in the dev instance.
Dev instance, home directory of Jenkins.
Okay, we'll also get the information where exactly the code is downloaded. We can get that in the log message. So let me run the job. Isn't it, Anuj?
Right.
Okay. You can see the job is getting executed. The dashboard will not be refreshed automatically. You need to click on refresh manually. The job has been completed. Got it, Anuj?
Correct.
In the console output, it is very clearly showing that the building the workspace in /home/Ubuntu Jenkins under workspace. The directory gets created. The name of the directory is same as name of the job. Remember,
job.
In this particular directory, the source code will be downloaded. This is development is the name of the directory. In this directory, the source code will be downloaded. We can anyways go to this directory and check whether the source code is downloaded or not. I want to check that. Already one terminal is busy with the Jenkins log messages. Remember, we should not disturb this terminal. I'm opening one more terminal connecting to the dev instance.
Sunil, this is a question I'm having. While connecting to a terminal, while creating these instances, we got one particular key, and we have to every time.
One minute, please. Let me. I will give you time to ask your question. So Anuj, you can see I have connected to which instance? I have connected to
the second one.
Dev instance.
Dev instance.
And I'm going to this location. CD followed with the location. And in this location, you can see the source code. Can you see Jenkins file, web app server? Can you see the same files which you
Exactly.
can see in this web app server? Correct? You're able to get the
Right.
file. So what we can clearly see at the operating system level, the source code is downloaded on the dev instance. Yes. Your question now.
Now, when we create an instance, if we create 3 instance or 5, whatever be the number we create, we get only one key to copy in a folder, and every time we have to open
Use
our
the same
Git
key.
bashes.
Yes, you are right.
Okay, so every time we have a different SSH credentials, but key is only one.
Key is
No
the
matter.
one. Exactly right. The command changes. The key is only one.
If I create one terminal today and one instance tomorrow,
one
even
terminal,
then
not one instance.
I'm sorry, one instance today and one instance tomorrow, even then the key would be same.
It's up to you. When you're creating the instance at the last step, I hope you remember, it will ask you, do you want to use an existing key or do you want to create a new
right
key? Okay.
Okay,
so you can also use an existing key.
Second question, when a developer uploads it, so that means until
in the sense,
when the code is uploaded to the GitHub, until, because they keep uploading the codes to the GitHub.
Okay.
They keep updating.
The second iteration, this is explaining about the first iteration. When the second iteration happens, we'll see. That's why it's called as continuous. Okay.
Right.
Let's follow one process, and then once the developer updates the code, what happens, we'll understand eventually. Okay.
Thank you.
Clear, Anuj? So what happened now? Can you briefly explain what we have done in this job?
So we have created a job in Jenkins to perform step 1, that is
continuous download. Yes,
download.
The code is downloaded.
The moment we executed it, it downloads.
Let the source code. As simple as that.
Mention the URL and we get it.
Yes.
One new question. If the developer gives a password, we need to specify that.
Yes, there's an option. Do you remember there's a credentials below the source code? You can also provide the same credentials which we receive it from the development team. Okay. So it can also be downloaded even it's having the credentials. Okay. Once the code is downloaded,
it has a credential. Will it ask me to enter the credential?
You need to provide the credentials. You can see here. Configure source code, and here you have an option of credentials. You need to enter the GitHub record as repository credentials. Okay.
Right, repository. Thank you, sir.
Krishnakant. Good evening. I can see your hand raised. Krishnakant, you are allowed to unmute and talk. Lexi. Good morning.
Good morning, Sonny. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for this session. I just wish to ask, what is the use of Tomcat, please?
What is the use of?
Tomcat.
Tomcat. Okay. Once the artifact is ready, okay, what will be the next step? Practically, the development will deploy the artifact so that the application is up and running. Got it? Lexi.
Yes.
Every application needs to run on a server. It could be Tomcat server or WebLogic or WebSphere. Server is mandatory. It could be either a web server if it is a web application. If it is an application, if you have to use an application server. So that is the reason we are taking Tomcat, not specific reason. Okay. Any one application server we can take it. So I'm taking Tomcat. Okay.
Okay. Next. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Krishnakant.
Hi, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can we perform Amazon machine image from QA server to production server?
You can do that. That's okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Anuj, once the code is downloaded, you can see the code has been downloaded now in the dev instance, isn't it?
Right.
Now the Maven should act on this code and generate the artifact. Agree? So I'm talking about, I hope you're understanding, I'm talking about stage 2, that is called as continuous build. Continuous build is all about packaging the source code and generating the artifact out of it, isn't it?
Right.
So what do I do is I go to the same job. The name of the job, what we have developed is the name of the job is development. I configure the same job. In other words, configuring is nothing but editing the job. Now, next action is build action. So I need to obviously go to build a tab. Then I have an add build step, and then I have invoke. There's an option called invoking Maven, invoke top level Maven targets. And here, do you remember what is the command finally which we use it to package the source code? You have an MVN package, isn't it? That's the command which is used for invoking the source code. So I'm writing the command as package. Anuj, click on apply, click on save. Go back to your job, and I am running the job for the second time. What happens again? Again, it starts from the beginning. The source code gets downloaded. The old source code will be replaced with the new one.
New one.
And then the package command gets executed on the source code which has been downloaded. And as a result of this, we should get the artifact.
New artifacts.
So I'm running the job. Let's wait for the job to get running for the second time. This will take some time because it's not just downloading the source code. The command should, the Maven should execute on this.
So even we don't modify every time we run a job.
Yes, it starts from the beginning.
That's why it's continuous download. Thank you. Got it.
All your doubts are eventually cleared day by day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sometimes we may ask a question that you may be covering later. So better redirect us to in order to save time, else it will be boring for others.
Okay. Thank you, Anuj. Regis. Good morning. We can hear you, Regis. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I wanted to ask, my name is Manny anyway. I wanted to ask, when you talked about the Tomcat, I wanted to say, we could use any of the web server, right? We could use Apache, it could be Apache, it could be any of them at all, right?
Yeah, you're right. There's no specific importance, but here we are taking an example of Tomcat.
Okay, thanks.
Looks like the job got executed. Let's refresh the dashboard. Yes, it is successful, and you can also see the console output. The Jenkins is triggering the Maven, and please observe building a war file in /home/Ubuntu workspace development web app. Do you remember in the Jenkins we have learned that the target folder gets created and finally all the results will be available in the target folder web app.war. Perfect. So your artifact is now ready. The artifact is now ready on the, where is this artifact available? The artifact is still available in the, where is Jenkins installed in the dev instance? So artifact is also available in the dev instance. Once the artifact is available in the dev instance, so what do you need to do? You need to deploy the artifact into the, we need to deploy the artifact into the QA instance. So whenever you want to deploy an artifact into the QA instance, you need an additional plugin called as deploy to container. We did a plugin called as deploy to container is a plugin which is required. It's a plugin which is required to deploy the artifact to any container. It could be WebLogic. In our case, it is Tomcat. Okay, so let's learn how can we install this plugin. Go back to your dashboard, manage Jenkins, manage plugins, go to available tab. First, search for the plugin which you need. Yes, this is the plugin which I want. Deploy to container plugin and install without restart. Let's wait for the plugin to get installed. You also need to set up everything. So you need to also set up dev QA production on your AWS account. You have to be on par with the day-to-day examples. Perfect. plugin is installed. As now the plugin is installed, I go back to a dashboard, configuring the same job. Anuj, what do we need to do now?
So download done, build done. Now we have to
Deploy.
deploy.
That means post build action, obviously
Post
after
build,
building.
right.
Okay.
Right.
So go to post build action, add post build action. Here you will have an option deploy var to a container. You get this option because you have installed the plugin. So that's the reason first you need to install the plugin to get the options updated. Yes. Sometimes the screen will not be refreshed. You need to scroll up to save time. So you need to scroll up somewhere. You will find this option post build action, deploy var to a container. Okay.
So that container is get created on that particular instance.
Container is Tomcat.
Tomcat. Okay.
Container refers to server.
So right now we are on the development instance, or we are on the move to the next one.
We are in Jenkins dashboard.
Okay, Jenkins dashboard. I'm so sorry. The moment we edit, it deployed. So where it deploys that particular, because Tomcat is in.
Did we deploy?
No.
We have installed a plugin.
Plugin, but where we installed the plugin? Okay, plugin is installed in
plugin
Jenkins.
is Jenkins. It's a Jenkins plugin. Jenkins software got updated because of the plugin.
Right.
Which we installed. Got it?
So no more to run commands. We can update
That's
it right from
install plugin. That's it from the user interface.
Correct. Thank you.
Now post build action. Here you should mention the dev var file which you want to deploy. Please look at this. All right. */**.var. That means sometimes as part of build activity, it will generate multiple artifacts. It's not mandatory that depending upon the application to application, you may come up with single artifact, you may come up with a multiple artifact. Generally, if it is multiple artifact, whether it is single or multiple, this particular pattern matching pattern will works fine. You can understand Anuj start.var is the first to I want to deploy all the var files which are available.
All the var files.
It can be in any directory. It's not specific to any location. It can be any location in the dev instance. I want to deploy the artifact. The next value is context path. I'll explain about the context path later. So I'm taking a note of it. What is the importance of context path? I'll explain later. So this is pending from my side. And then I'm writing the context path as anything you can write it. You can write your name. Also, I'm writing it as QAENV. What is the importance of context path? I later. And then what is your container? Your container is not JBoss. Your container is not Glassfish. Your container is Tomcat 8. You want to deploy it into Tomcat 8. And when you want to deploy, you need to provide the Tomcat user credentials. Do you remember when we have installed Tomcat on the QA instance, we have provided a username and password for the Tomcat. Do you remember? So those credentials, because Jenkins wants to talk to Tomcat, you need to provide the Tomcat credentials to Jenkins. That's what we are doing here. Right now, there are no credentials of Tomcat. So I am providing the credentials here. Got it? To Jenkins, the username is, I remember, it is
learning. One is learning, another
learning is in the production instance. Now we are not deploying into production instance. We are deploying it into QA instance. The username is training.
Password Sunil.
Done. I have added the credentials. Now you can see the credentials which are added in the drop down list box. These credentials are the Tomcat which is running on the QA instance. So here you need to provide the Tomcat URL. Here you need to provide the Tomcat URL. That's nothing but the private IP address of the QA instance. This is the private IP address of the QA instance, and we know Tomcat is running on 8080. Provide the Tomcat URL. So I'm clearly mentioning, Anuj, try to understand, I'm clearly mentioning that I want to deploy the var file into the Tomcat instance, which is running on this particular IP address, and I have provided the user credentials of Tomcat to Jenkins. Using these credentials, your Jenkins will pick up the artifact which is available on the dev instance, and that gets deployed into the
training
QA instance. Okay, and the only thing pending my file is explaining about the context path. So click on apply, click on save. Go back to your dashboard, running the job for the third time.
So questions.
Okay. Let's wait for the job to get
Yeah,
executed.
sure.
Thank you. Priyadarshini.
Hi, Sunil. Good evening.
Good evening.
I have one quick question. Like, can we install Tomcat and Dev in Dev server?
We don't need that. Dev instance for developers. Okay.
Yeah, because if they want to do unit testing,
Okay. If
can
they want to do unit testing, they can deploy Tomcat. They can have one Tomcat on the local dev instance and they deploy it into that instance just to experience by themselves. Okay.
Okay.
You are
So
right.
yeah.
For that unit testing, you don't need to include Jenkins. Okay. That's by themselves. Okay. Manually, you have to do it.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see the result. Jenkins dashboard will not be refreshed. Now it's third time it has been successfully deployed. Successfully deployed. Anuj, now the artifact is now available on the QA instance, isn't it? As now the application is up and running on the QA instance, can we access the application? Can we access the application which is deployed? Isn't it, Anuj?
Yes, right.
How can we do that?
But I have a question before that. So
1 minute,
while
I will
if it
give
has
you a time. One way we will be giving you a time.
Right.
Once it is deployed, how can we access? I want to access the application from my laptop. Whenever you are accessing the application outside the network, we use public IPs. As your application is deployed into the QA instance, I take the public IP of the QA instance, right?
Right.
And then and Tomcat runs on
8080
slash. To access your application, the context path is used unique URL. Okay, the context path is used for accessing the application. What is the context path you have used? QAENV. So that's the importance of context path. This will be the URL to access the application which is deployed into the QA instance. So can you see the application? What is the application? It is a simple hello world application. It could be a simple hello world application. It could be a complex Facebook application. Complexity of the application does not matter for a DevOps engineer. You should able to download the source code, generate the artifact, and then deploy it into the QA instance so that the application is up and running. Clear, Anuj?
Right.
Perfect.
Right.
Yes. Now your question.
We don't have a course source code. So for testing, what we
don't have.
We don't have a source code, testing source code. So what should we do?
1 minute. You're talking about stage 4?
No, I'm asking a question that while practicing, because we don't have a source code. So what we should practice?
Please use the GitHub repository URL which I have used it. Okay. When you're practicing, please use the same repository which I'm sending it. Do not use any other repository. If you're using a repository which is having some files like file 1, file 2, file 3, even you will not get the hello world application, isn't it? So this is a simple hello world application code. Please use this GitHub repository URL. This is a public repository URL. It does not need any credentials, and I recommend you to use this particular repository URL. Okay.
Second question: if we have multiple artifacts, because each time we click the deploy application, it creates source code updates. And it has artifact 1, artifact 2, artifact 3, artifact 4. The moment we deploy it, it collects everything. So
all the artifacts will be moved it into the QA instance.
QA instance. So what application will behave? Because for a particular application, we have one single source code. If it has multiple, how it would going to behave?
You're talking about multiple applications, or you're talking about multiple artifacts specific to one application?
Single application, multiple artifacts. Developer
single application. No. Single application, multiple artifacts, the development team. Finally, if you want to access it, it will be from the one main artifact. The parent artifact will be there. Okay. From now the application is accessed. That is handled by the development team. Okay. At the time of artifact development, you don't need to worry about that.
Okay. So they will provide only one artifact because it's continuous download, right? So the moment source code gets
1 minute, Anuj, 1 minute. They will not provide single artifact. As part of build activity, multiple artifact will be generated.
Generated.
You will be deploying all the multiple artifact into the QA instance. And then
Correct.
using the context path, when you automatically access that application, it automatically picks up the parent artifact. You don't need to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a question. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Balaji.
Yeah, hi Sunil.
Good evening.
Thanks for good evening.
Yes, your question. Is this clear about the CI/CD stages, how we have started?
Yeah, it's clear. So.
Perfect. Thank you. Your question.
Yeah, here we had did that continuous download, continuous build, and continuous deploy, right?
Yes, you are right.
So Tomcat is just a container.
So that the artifact
to
is
communicate
deployed.
with DevOps server, right?
So you need an application to run. Okay. You need a server to run. It could be Tomcat, it could be JBoss, it could be that these are servers. Balaji, for example.
Okay.
Okay. I'm opening ICICIbank.com. This is an application, isn't it?
Yeah.
From where I'm getting this application? From the application server. Tomcat is an application server. Okay. WebLogic is an application server. JBoss is an application server. Got it? So every application needs to be running on the application server. So that's the reason we have taken an example of Tomcat. Okay.
Okay. To run that WAR file which is generated
exactly.
in Dev
It should be
server
deployed into the application.
That.
Compulsory. Every application you're getting ICICI Bank, if you're getting a page, that means it's running on the application server. If you're opening facebook.com, if you're getting a Facebook page, that means it is running from the application server. Got it? Clear?
Yeah, got it.
Every application needs an application server. So for that reason, we have installed Tomcat.
Yeah.
Okay, Balaji. Thank you. Naveen Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Yes, your question.
Yeah, sir. In the real time, every time we need to run this build, sir, in Jenkins, or it's only one-time configuration in the real time?
You have to wait. Okay, all this can be triggered automatically using the code. Okay, you'll understand it.
So no manual intervention, right, sir?
No manual intervention. You are right. So we are aiming for that. Okay. Clear about as of now the 3 stages?
Yeah, perfect, sir.
Download, code that's downloaded, artifact is generated, and the artifact is deployed. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So the
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, Sudipta?
Good. Actually, basically we are using global GitHub repository, right? My question is.
Okay.
Am I audible?
You are audible. Yes. Your question.
My question is there any chance anytime we need to use some private GitHub repository which is
no.
Yeah.
There is no concept of public GitHub repository or global GitHub repository. GitHub repository by default is public. Okay. If a development team uploads the code into the repository, and they will be providing you the repository URL details. Okay, Sudipti. Okay, so using those details, we'll be downloading it. There's nothing called public and private. If they want to keep that code secure, they provide the login credentials, GitHub repository credentials. So that credentials we need to enter it in the Jenkins so that the code gets downloaded. So it's completely secure. Okay.
Actually, my question is like any company, if they want to, like some government, they don't want to keep their code in public repository. They need their own repository and own GitHub server they have. So they will upload
your point is they don't want to use public repositories like GitHub or popular repositories. They want to have their own private servers. Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yes,
so
right.
In such case, they need to provide a plugin which is compatible to that private repositories. Okay. What are the private repository tool? They have to provide the plugin so that plugin will install it in Jenkins so that we have an option to pull the repository URLs. Okay. Clear?
Okay.
So they have their own.
Thanks.
If it is a private tool for managing the source code, they will provide their own corresponding plugins that needs to be installed for Jenkins. Okay.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Sudipta. Thank you. very much. Perfect. And then you are able to access the application. So what we have done, we have completed the 3 stages. What we have done, we have completed continuous download, we have completed continuous build, and we have deployed the artifact into the QA instance. Okay, stage 4 and stage 5, continuous testing and continuous delivery. Will not keep that in today's session. We'll be keeping that in a tomorrow session. So meanwhile, I recommend you to strongly complete this hands-on with respect to configuring the QA instance. Please complete the configuration of production instance, complete the configuration of dev instance, perform these 3 stages, make yourself comfortable so that we can proceed the remaining stages in tomorrow's session. Yes, Kumar Raja.
Hi, Sunil.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Nice to hear you. Yes, your question.
Yeah. As you said that we need to use a private IP address for a QA server for in the Jenkins.
Yes.
So,
Why should we use private IP address? Is that your question?
No. It's not my question. My question is, since the IP is dynamic, I've seen that the IP changes every day. So how we deal with that?
First point.
Yeah.
If there are network failures, you will find stoppage of Jenkins server. But look at this, Kumar.
Yeah.
When we have deployed the artifact into the QA instance, isn't it?
Yes.
You have provided the star.war file, and you have provided the Tomcat credentials, and we have provided the private IP address of the machine, isn't it? Okay.
Yes.
The private IP addresses will never change. Only the public IP address will change, because the public IP address is provided by the internet service providers. In AWS, there is no chance of changing the private IP addresses. So it will be always static. So as it is only static, so you'll not have any connection issues. Got it, Kumar? And one more important point, few may be having these questions. Why are we using private IP? Why are we not using public IP at the time of deployment? Can you answer, Kumar?
Since we are using the credentials and
why are we using private IP addresses here? Instead, what can we use public IP? This dev instance, QA instance, and production instance, all the 3 instances are running on AWS cloud. Agree?
Yes.
Or on the same platform. Okay.
Yes.
As all the instances are running on AWS cloud, communication between one instance to another instance, private IP is enough within the instance, within the AWS network, right? Communication between one instance to other instance, private IP address is enough. Let's say from your laptop, if you want to communicate, this is your laptop. Got it? Okay. From your laptop, after deploying the artifact into the QA instance, we are getting the Hello World application. Got it?
Yes.
So how are you in that case, where as your laptop is outside the AWS network, here you have to use
public IP.
Public IP, because it is our laptop is external to AWS network. So communication between one instance to other instance, wherever is there, use private IP addresses. From communication from outside the network, we go for public IP. Clear, Kumar?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. So please practice this. This is what we have planned for our today's session. So where is our day-wise agenda? We have installed Tomcat on the AWS environment. We have performed continuous download. We have performed continuous build. We also now know how to install the plugins if required in the Jenkins. We have performed the continuous deployment and importance of context paths. You can, if you want to access the application, you can do that by using the context path. So next, stage 4 and stage 5, continuous testing and continuous deployment, delivery, the pending to be discussed on tomorrow's session. So please stay tuned so that we can complete all the 5 stages by tomorrow. Please practice and see tomorrow, which is a very important session. Thank you, and see tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Thank you very much.